Okay guys, so we're ready to jump into Lightroom with our Mickey portal shoot. Now, the shoot was incredibly fun and we're gonna be doing some interesting things to these photos. To start off, we're actually gonna be rotating the photos 180 degrees and then we're gonna be cropping into a specific part of the photo. Now, we're also gonna show you how to do lens correction and black and white conversions. All right guys, we had a great tutorial. Let's jump into Lightroom. So here in Lightroom, the first thing we're going to do is click on our Mickey portal. Now, these are images I called the portal basically because we photographed our subject standing above a mirror and we buried the mirror a little bit underground. And we're going to flip all these upside down because I actually want the mirror part of the image to be the focus. So to start off with, let's go ahead and hit G to go to grid view. Now we're going to rotate all these images around. So I'm going to hold shift and click on our last image. So that's going to select all these. Now you can rotate your images either by hovering over your image and going to one of these rotate icons here on the bottom left or the bottom right, or you can right click and go down to rotate right. There we go. And we'll just do that again. Okay, very cool. So now all of our images are rotated and we're ready to focus on our main subject. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on my first image and that's going to bring us into loop view. And then I'm going to click here and zoom in. Now you can change your amount of zoom right here. So if you're not far enough zoomed in, you can change, I'm looking at 1/3, 1 to 3 right now. So that seems to be working out pretty well. Okay, now here I'm going to use the right and left arrows and it's going to match the zoom on all of these images. So to start off with, I'm going to choose my picks. All right, so this is a pick. Okay, that one I can't really see a whole lot. I can't see her other arm. That one's a little bit better. All right, I think that one's a little bit better again because we can see her arm there. That's pretty nice too. And that one I can't see a whole lot. Quite a bit of this is covered by sand and whatnot. Okay, so going back through these are basically our picks. So I'm going to hit G for grid view. And now we're going to go to attribute and down to flat. Our picks. So choosing just to see the flags. Okay, so now that we've flagged our picks, we're ready to go through our next level of basically our culling process. So in this case, I want to be a little bit zoomed in as well. So I'm going to use compare mode to compare images side by side and see which ones I like better. All right, guys, so keep in mind, I can only see my picks. So I'm going to hold Control or Command, click on my second image here, and then hit C for compare mode. And then we're just going to compare these two images side by side. Which one do I think works? Okay, now in this case, I like how this is kind of uncovered here, but the hand for me is just a little bit awkward here. So I like the one on the left. So I'm just going to hit the right arrow. There we go. All right, and this looks really good as well. I can't see her arm and her face is just a little bit, her face is going to be distorted because it's towards the bottom of the photo. And we're going to show you guys how to kind of work with that, but I still like this image here on the left. All right, now comparing these two images, the lighting on her face looks much better in this image than it does in this image, and her arm kind of coming up there. Now we are losing some definition here on that side of her body, but still I like this image a little bit more. So I'm going to hit the up arrow on that, and that becomes our select. So then just going left and right, I'm going to just go through them again just to compare them one more time just to make sure, is that the image that we're going to wind up working with? All right. Yeah, and in this case, I think that is my select. So I'm going to go ahead and click right here where we have a little, it just looks like a gray square. It's kind of hard to see, but you can click there and give it a color rating. You can also click and just hit the number 6, and that's going to make it red. And I'll make it 5 stars as well. Okay, so don't feel like you have to choose the exact photo that I chose. That's just the one that I like. So now that we've chosen our pick, let's go ahead and start editing our photos. So back in Lightroom, I'm going to hit G to get back to our grid view. Okay, and we can go ahead and change our flag rating. We don't need to see any of these because I already have the image chosen that we're going to edit. So let's go ahead and double click on this image. There we go, and here we are back in loop view. Now the first thing I want to do is go ahead and change our composition. We're going to be cropping our photo. So I'm going to go to the Develop tab here. Okay, and definitely you can use the entire photo. I just find that like it's a little bit, I wish the composition was just a little bit different. Like I don't know exactly what to focus on. So that's why we're going to be kind of cropping into our main area here on the top. So first thing we're going to do is grab our crop tool, and that's located right over here. Our crop overlay, let's go ahead and click here. Now, we have a few different options. You can change your aspect ratio. So you could go 8.5 by 11, 5 by 7, whatever you want. I'm going to choose a 1:1 crop ratio now. Okay, so a 1:1, that's basically just going to be a square. So I'm going to bring this up and then start cropping this in until we see just our subject. Now, this is one of the many advantages of shooting with a camera that has a higher megapixel count, because you can basically crop into your photo and you still have a relatively high resolution image. All right, there we go. So let's crop in and hit enter. All right, so we do have some feet in the photograph. That's not a big deal. We're going to show you guys how to remove those as well. So the next thing I want to do is correct some of the distortion in my photograph, because you can see her head's pretty distorted, and anytime you're photographing with a relatively wide angle lens, you're going to have distortion on the edges of the lenses. So it's a good idea to correct that. So jumping back in Lightroom, we're going to go ahead and scroll down. There we go. Bum, 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 bum. Here we see our transform. Okay, now we do have lens corrections, which we can go ahead and enable our lens corrections, okay, and that's going to help with some vignetting, things like that. But where we want to really hang out is here in the transform. We're going to transform this vertically. So you can see if I pull this way, we're going to get even more distorted, and as I go this way a little bit, we're going to get less distorted. So obviously we want to take away some of our distortion. All right, now in this case, it's kind of doing some stuff to our crop here. So let's go back to our crop, and let's just make sure that we're not cropped in there. Because basically what it does is it squishes the top part of the image down, okay, to correct the distortion, and that's giving us a white bar. So I just need to like change my crop. Okay, so there we go, and let's hit enter. So you can see we're definitely less distorted than we were when we started working. Now I'm gonna hit R one more time. Let's just crop in just a little bit more. It's a little bit too much in frame right now. There we go. Just kind of really want to center, kind of focus around our subject. There we go, and we're going to hit enter. Now, at this time, what I want to do is actually sync this photo with all the other photos in the group, because I went through and chose my pick, but there's a chance that once I sync this, I'm going to start to be able to compare those photos side by side, and I might like another image in this series as well. So let's go ahead and show you guys how to sync this with all the other photos in the group. So I'm going to go back to grid view here, so G for grid view. Now I'm going to hold Control and hit A, and that's going to select everything. So I've got my main image selected, and then I've got all my sub images here. And I'm going to go to sync settings, okay, and we're just going to basically hit check all, okay, because the only thing that I've done is crop and change some perspective distortion. So let's go ahead and hit synchronize there. All right, there we go. And these we can see, I didn't even flip those upside down. So let me just hit undo a couple times. All right. There we go. Oh, you know what? I did crop those upside down. So let's go back to synchronize. All right. There we go. I'm not sure. I just need to hit R for crop, and we need to just change the crop on these. Not a big deal. So this is something like I highly recommend. You know, you don't have to make up your mind in the very beginning. You can definitely come back and look at your shots over and over again, especially after you've made some adjustments. I would highly recommend doing so. All right, let's hit R for our crop on this one and go back through. So now I'm going to just go back to our grid view. I'm going to hit Controller Command A to select all of them, and hit N for survey view, and then hit Shift Tab. So now we can take another look at our photographs when they're cropped in and when we have this new way of viewing our images. So let's hold Controller Command to get rid of images that we don't want. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those. There we go, and that one's gone. And here we have these three. So I think that one's gone. And these two are both pretty strong. So I'm going to go ahead and process both of these. So let's go ahead and give this one a 5-star as well. Okay. I like the light on her face in this one a little bit more, but I like the pose and how much is visible of the body in this one. So we'll just basically apply transformations and adjustments to one of the images, and then we'll sync that back with the other one. Okay, so that's just a good exercise to know. Like, if you make some adjustments, go ahead and apply those to other images in the series, because there's a good chance you might like one of the other images maybe better, or you're like, well, these are both really great. Maybe I'll edit them both all the way to completion, and then we'll see which ones we like in the end. So jumping back in, we're going to double click here on our image. Okay, Shift Tab will bring up our sidebars again, and I'm going to go into our Develop module. Now, at the very top here, you're going to see you have treatment options between color and black and white. Now, in this case, I'm going to choose black and white, and we're going to add quite a bit of contrast to this photo. And this is a style choice. You can most definitely choose to keep it in color. Most of the reason why I'm choosing black and white here is because the sand is kind of this like tan color, and then her skin and the outfit, it's kind of all like the same color. Like if the sand was like black and her outfit was like blue, I might keep it in color because we'd have a little bit of contrast, but kind of it's all the same color. So I think there's not much of a benefit with keeping it in color. I mean, this is just my opinion. You can do whatever you want. So I think black and white, we can really start to add some contrast and add some interest in this photo. Okay, so here in black and white, we're gonna start bringing up our contrast quite a bit. All right, because I really want my darks to get a little bit darker and I want my lights to get a little bit lighter. So we'll bring up our highlights as well, okay? And we'll go ahead and bring up down our shadows. And I'm gonna bring up our clarity as well. So I want this to kind of be like a little bit more of like a abstract type looking image and a little bit on the like kind of weird trippy side of things. All right, now I'm gonna hit R for our crop tool again and just crop in just a little bit more, okay? And hit enter there. Again, we're kind of going for like a little bit of a surreal effect here. All right, which looks great. Now in this case, we can see that this is our image as a whole, and we do have on the bottom here, we do have what's like pretty in focus here on the bottom, and we're a little bit out of focus here on the top. So we can actually, we can work on that with clarity. So let's go ahead and grab our brush tool. Now this is the adjustment brush. So I'm gonna click on our adjustment brush, and basically anywhere you paint, I'm just gonna paint a little bit here on the bottom, okay? Anywhere you paint, that area is gonna get affected by any of these sliders, okay? So it's very similar to the radial, there we go, the radial filter that we used previously. Now you can just paint in the area that you'd like to affect. So let's go ahead and change this back to 0. There we go. And this time I'm gonna bring my clarity down just a little bit, okay? Just bringing our clarity down just a little bit, basically just kind of makes this area a little bit less clear. So it's gonna draw just a little bit less of attention from the subject. All right, there we go. Kind of bring that down a little bit. So we can see the, there we go. There's kind of the before with that and the after. It's just kind of like bringing a little bit less attention to the bottom of the photo. Okay, now let's create a new brush here, and I'm gonna paint here on our subject's face and right up here, and we're gonna bring the clarity up right there. Okay, so we're just kind of like drawing the viewer's eyes like away from this area down here and up towards our subject. All right, let's go ahead and close that down. Now I'm gonna scroll down here to the bottom. There we go. Bum, 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 bum. Keep on going until we see our effects. And here we have our post-crop vignetting. So what's nice about post-crop vignetting is if you do crop your photo, your vignetting will stay intact. So I'm gonna click here and just drag this to the left a little bit. Okay, that's gonna give us just a little bit. Vignetting basically just darkens your edges here, okay? You can go darker or lighter. So in this case, we're gonna go a little bit darker, okay? You can change your midpoint, okay? Change your roundness. I'm gonna bring this way down so you can get an idea of what this actually does. So changing your midpoint just brings you closer to center. Changing your roundness, basically changes how round this is. All right, there we go. And your feathering changes how much of the edge is going to actually be feathered or blurred. So with no feathering, you can see it's a pretty hard edge right there. I recommend adding some feathering. It's gonna create a lot more of a natural look. All right. There we go, and let's go ahead and bring our amount so we don't need that high. All right, that looks great. And I'm gonna add some grain as well to our photo, just to make it look like a little bit more like a film type look. All right, pretty cool. So I really like this image actually. It's totally like weird and unique, and it's something that I haven't really seen before. If I did, let's go ahead back to a 1:1 crop here, 1:1 zoom rather. If I did spend any time in Photoshop, I might get rid of this like little reflection here. It's just a little bit distracting, but really not that bad. And all in all, I really like this image. Now, the last thing I want to do, we have a little bit, it's kind of visible, a little bit of a footprint there. So I'm going to take that footprint away, and we're going to use our, there we go, our spot removal tool, and I'm going to click on heal. So let's go ahead and make our brush a little bit smaller. You can do this with the open and closed brackets. And I'm going to paint right over this little footprint. Okay, and it's going to copy from right over there. And I'm going to paint right over that little footprint, and it's going to copy this from over there. All right. And I think that looks really cool. It's totally weird and like, what am I even looking at? What's going on? But I like it. And really, that's kind of what's important. Do you like the image that you've created? Okay, so I'm going to hit G to get back to our grid view now. And now I'm going to go ahead and sync this with our other 5-star image. So Control or Command, we're going to click here. I'm going to go to Sync Settings. And again, I'm just going to click on all of them except for Spot Removal. That's when we change the little footprints here. Okay, I'm going to keep that unchecked because there's a good chance these footprints are not in the exact same place. Actually, I think they kind of are in a pretty similar place. So I'm going to turn on Spot Removal. So let's hit Synchronize there. All right, there we go. Looks like I'm going to double click here and just change our crop. So I'm going to hit R to change our crop once more. There we go. And let's just make that a little bit bigger. All right, and I just don't want to include any of the feet. If you do want to change your composition a little bit and you do want to, include like a little bit more in the image, you can totally use the spot removal tool to get rid of some feet if you want to. Or you can keep them in and really make your viewer ask what's going on. All right, and let's hit enter there. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to our grid view. I'm going to hold Control or Command and click on both of the images and hit N for our survey view so we can see the images side by side. All right, and looking at this view, I still do like this image. I like the light on our subject's face. I think it really helps draw more attention to the subject. And this image is also great, but I think this is my winner. So we're going to stick with the red label on here, and let's go ahead and double click on there and hit Shift Tab, and we can view that image full screen, which I think is really cool and just like a kind of a fun little experiment of what to do when photographing someone and putting a mirror under the dirt. Okay guys, that's it for our Mickey portal shoot. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I totally dig the final result. It's like kind of funky and weird, and I hope you guys like it as well. And feel free to choose your own images to edit, and you can edit them in a totally different way. So in this section, we showed you how to do lens correction as well as distortion. We fixed some of the distortion that happens when you shoot with a wide angle lens. We showed you how to change your composition through cropping and how to sync your settings through different photos. We showed you how to do a black and white conversion and how to use the brush tool to add clarity to our subject's face and take away clarity from other areas in the photo. And last, we did a spot removal to get rid of some of the footsteps in the dirt. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next chapter. Bye everybody.